Hello everyone, my name is Mahendra and I will be your trainer for this FortiGate Firewall and FortiManager training program. When it comes to my experience, I have overall 11 years of experience in enterprise security design and implementation. I was working extremely with next generation firewalls, secure network architectures and large scale deployment environments. I am also delivering a professional firewall trainings for more than 5 years for now, helping learners to build their knowledge in real-time security deployments in their organizations or in their projects when it comes to firewalls or other security deployments. Okay, so today we are gathered here to understand what this course is about, what you will be going to learn in this particular training, and I will walk you through everything in this particular demo. The complete course we are structured with the key learning objectives that I will walk you through with a lab overview as well, that what you are going to learn. So during this demo, what we are going to do, we will go with the course content, what you are going to learn in this particular course. Then we will go with the lab overview, like what type of labs you will be having in this particular training. Okay. So let us start with the course content first. So this would be the course content which we are going to cover in our training session. Okay. So first thing, we are going to have two concepts in our training. One would be a firewall, FortiGate firewall, and second one would be the FortiManager, which would be our centralized device. I'll come to that in couple of minutes. Okay. So note what we are saying. The training will start from the basics of Fortinet security fundamentals and progressively cover advanced enterprise deployments. So if you have never worked on any firewalls, you don't need to worry. We would start with the very basic thing. We will start with like a ABCD. Then we will go with the making complete sentences or so. So you don't need to worry if you have never worked on any security environment. We will start with the very basic. Only prerequisites are you should be having some knowledge of routing and switching, which would be very helpful for you if you are learning this particular course. Okay, then you don't need to have any prior experience on network security, also fine for us. We are going to cover from a very scratch. Okay.
If you enjoyed the content of the video, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel.
So let us start now. Course overview. So you can see this particular course overview. We will have a hands-on lab training, which will cover FortiGate next generation firewall to advanced configuration security policies and centralized management using FortiManager. What is the use of FortiManager? I will come to that again. Okay. So what all concepts you are going to learn? Let us see what you will learn in this particular training. You will understand like what is Fortinet security fabric concepts, FortiGate architecture and key components. What are the components we usually have in a FortiGate environment? Then how to install, configure and manage FortiGate firewalls in enterprise environments. If you are working in any of the organization, how can you manage that FortiGate firewall in your company? We will understand that. After that, we will understand like how to manage FortiGate policies. There are certain NAT concepts in a FortiGate. NAT is nothing but a network address translation. You have seen this particular thing in your CCNA, right? This network address translation, which you have already seen in your CCNA concepts, how to do network address translations. There would be different type of NATs also we will cover in our firewall training, which is called a source NAT. Then we would be having something called a destination NAT, where we use a source NAT, where we use a destination NAT also, we are going to cover in our training concept. Okay. Then we will go with the certain routing configurations and interface configurations also. These are all the theory concepts we will understand first before going to our lab environment. Then what is the use of application control, web filtering, IPS, IDS signatures, SSL inspection and antivirus. See, in any of the firewall, not only a FortiGate firewall, these are the very common features you need to understand when you are going with the next generation firewall implementation. Okay, so we will understand this everything in a deeper. After that, we are going to cover like VPN configurations. There are two types of VPNs usually we are having in our environment. One is a site-to-site VPN and one is a RA VPN, which we call it a remote access VPN. Where do we use site-to-site VPN? Where do we use remote access VPNs also? We will understand with the protocols like we will understand what is the use of IPsec, what is the use of SSL VPN. Both the things we will go through in our environment. After that, we are going to do a implementation of high availability, which is very important when you are working with like data centers where your customer doesn't or your company cannot bear downtime. If one firewall goes down, the environment should not go down. That type of things also we need to understand. So that will help us with the high availability concept. Okay. After high availability concept, we will go with the troubleshootings. Like say, not only implementation and configuration will help you. Many times you need to do a troubleshooting if the traffic is not passing or users are complaining. I am not able to access internet or I am not able to access so and so service. But from your point of view, configuration is correct. But there are still the traffic is having issues. So you need to have a troubleshooting skills also, right? How to do a logs, how to check a logs, how to do packet captures, and how to do debug commands also we will understand. Then after that, there would be another concept. We call it like a local users, LDAP users, and AD users. So in any of the firewall, when you are having a, like remote access VPN or some other configurations, you may need to have a users to have authentication. The users can be local users or it can be remote users. Remote users, I mean to say, it can be LDAP, your Active Directory, okay, or it can be a radius protocol, anything. It can be within your Active Directory computer or within your SAML Azure Active Directory, anything. So how to do that integrations also we will understand in our firewall trainings. Okay, so these were all FortiGate firewall concepts. After FortiGate firewall we will go with the FortiManager. So before we go with the FortiManager concept, let me tell you what is FortiManager now. Assume you are having multiple firewalls in your environment. Suppose you are having a firewall 1 in your DC. You are having firewall 2 in your branch. You are having firewall 3 in your branch 2. This is your branch 2. This is your branch 1. Like this, you are having like 10 branches. So now you need to manage all the 10 firewalls independently. Like suppose you want to do any configuration in DC firewall, manually you need to log into DC firewall and do a config, right? Like that, in any of the branch also, if you need to do configuration, you need to log into branch and do a configuration. That would be time taking process, and every time you need to log into different firewall to do any configuration. So to overcome these issues, what FortiGate did, they have designed one particular server. We call it a FortiManager. Okay, so we can integrate all the firewalls in a FortiManager. There are some steps to integrate any firewall in a FortiManager. So after you do integration of firewalls in a FortiManager, you don't need to log into any of the firewall independently. You just need to log in to a FortiManager from your management PC, and whatever configuration you want to do in a DC, you will do in a FortiManager and push the configuration to your firewalls. See, if you guys have worked on like Cisco environment, Cisco has like a FMC for managing all the firewalls. If you have worked in Palo Alto, they are having Panorama. Okay, not only this, if you have ever worked on SD-WAN technologies, we are having like a vManage to manage all the routers, right? We will not do configuration locally on the routers. We can do it, but we will not do once we have integration with the vManage. All the configurations we are going to do with the vManage and push to routers, right? Similar to that, we are having a FortiManager in our environment to do a configuration for firewalls and push configuration to a firewalls from a FortiManager. Everything, not only like interface or routing policies, also we will manage from FortiManager. VPNs we will manage from FortiManager. Everything we are going to manage from FortiManager only. Okay, so that is the use of FortiManager in our environment. So how can you do that? How to do a configuration with the FortiManager also we will understand, like adding firewalls to FortiManager. It is not only like theory. We will literally check like how, suppose you are having new firewalls, how can you add firewalls to FortiManager? Adding and managing multiple FortiGate devices. centrally means adding it to a FortiManager. Then creating a policies, object, firewall rules, and security profiles using FortiManager, we are going to check. Then how to work with the policies, the device database, and ADOMs. See, in a FortiGate, suppose you guys have ever worked on a Nexus switches. In a Nexus, we have like a virtual device contest, right? Where one particular firewall, one particular switch can act as a virtual. In a one particular physical switch, we can have multiple Nexus switches, right? We are dividing one box into multiple boxes. Similar to that, in a FortiGate FortiManager also, we are having ADOM options. ADOM means administrative domains. One user or one firewall can be part of ADOM A, second firewall can be part of ADOM B, third firewall part of ADOM C, and suppose this firewall belongs to customer A. You can give access to only customer A. They will be only able to see their firewall. They cannot see other customer firewalls and so on. Okay, that would be the things you are going to understand. Then how to do a firmware upgrades using a FortiGate firewalls, or how to take a backups also we will understand. After this, using a FortiManager, not only like a normal configuration, you can create a configuration using a templates. These templates can be implemented on multiple firewalls, and with a very minor changes you can do configuration as and when required. Suppose tomorrow you are going to deploy new firewall in your environment, so you don't need to do configuration from scratch. You just apply this firewall to your new firewall, this template to new firewall, and changing some values which is applicable to that particular branch. All the configuration would be applied to your new firewall. It would be like you are deploying a new branch within a seconds or within hours. Okay, then troubleshooting and configuration issues we will check with the FortiManager also. So this would be the modules we are going to cover. In a module 1, we will first understand like Fortinet security fabric, introduction to Fortinet security fabric, then FortiOS overview and feature sets. What are the features you will get in a FortiGate? Then we will understand the licensing model. See, whenever you take any firewall, the first thing is you should be having a licenses, right? In a real-time environment, I am talking about. In your company, if you don't have a license, you will not be able to do many security things. You will not be able to do URL filtering or web filtering, anything, right? So what are the different models of licenses we are having in a FortiGate, we will understand. Okay, then deployment modes of a FortiGate firewall. There are mainly two deployments mode in a FortiGate. One is an at role, and another one is a transparent mode. So what are the difference between these both modes, we need to understand in the theory. Then later there would be labs also for everything. Okay, then FortiGuard subscription, no, we will understand what are the use of FortiGuard subscription. Okay, then second thing would be what is a traffic flow in a FortiGate firewall. We will go through FortiGate architecture and traffic processing. How the traffic flows in a FortiGate. Suppose I am having a firewall. One leg of the firewall is connected to my LAN. Another leg is connected to my WAN. Okay. If the traffic is coming from a LAN side to my firewall, what all the steps the firewall need to take? There would be certain steps, right? Step 1, step 2. Like there would be like traffic came to firewall. He will check routing. He will check NATing. He will check policies. He will check DOS policies, IDS, IPS signatures, everything before it send out to a WAN, right? So what are the different things we will check during our firewall traffic processing? We will check that part. Okay. Then different type of packet flows and inspection orders, that what I told you, different steps firewall will perform. Then different type of policies, what we are going to cover, like policy based versus profile based inspection. What all these things, we will go through that. Then session table, forwarding table, and UTM. What is the use of session table in FortiGate firewall? We will understand. See, there are two types of firewalls usually, like what we say, one which will store a sessions and another they will not be storing a sessions and all. So what is the use of session tables and how FortiGate will help us to store the sessions in our firewall, we will understand. Then basic configuration like zones interface and role based segmentation. What is the use of this? We will go through that in our environment. Then third module, we will cover a routing environment. During the routing configurations, network and routing configurations, first thing what we are going to do, interface configurations. Then under interfaces, there are different type of interfaces, VLAN interfaces, LACP interfaces, and SD-WAN interfaces also we will go through. After that, we are going to do a routing, which is first we will go through static routing. Then second, we will go with the protocols like OSPF, BGP, and RIP. And what are the concepts and use cases, and which environment we can use which protocol. We will go through that. After the basic routing and interface configurations, there are two important things in FortiGate. One is called a policy-based routing, and one is called a equal cost multipath or a routing failover and redundancy concepts. If suppose I am having two ISPs in my company, okay, both are connected to my firewall, and this is connected to my LAN. Now there is a requirement that firewall, this ISP1, ISP2, both should be having a 50-50% traffic. And if this particular ISP goes down, all the traffic should go from this way. This is requirement one. We call it a routing failover or redundancy concept. One ISP fails, another ISP will take all the traffic. This is one thing. Second thing is, suppose I am having three VLANs, VLAN 10, 20, and VLAN 30 in my environment. This VLAN 10 is my servers, and ISP1 is more reliable or more faster speed. So I want to configure certain things like whenever traffic is going for ISP server 1, it should always take ISP1 until it is up and running. So these things we can do via policy based routing, where we can check a source and destination before going to exit interface in a firewall. So these things also we will go through in our lab environments during our training sessions. Okay. After that, we would be having the NAT concepts and load balancing concepts. So during our NAT, we will check source NAT, destination NAT, and there are different NAT policies in FortiGate firewall, like central NAT and policy NAT. So there are different ways to do a configuration. One NAT you can directly deploy on a policies. Second, if you don't want to use policy NAT, you need to enable central NAT also. That also we will going to cover. Then third thing would be VIP, virtual IP addresses or port forwarding. We call it the virtual servers load balancing. So where do we use virtual IP or port forwarding? Now assume you are having one server in your office. On this server, you are having some website hosted. This website you need to access from the internet. This is your firewall. Okay, connected to your. This is your ISP or internet. ISP or internet, whatever you call it. Now this particular server you want to access from public network. So what will happen? Public will try to access your public IP because you cannot access the server directly from a LAN IP or private IP, right? So over the internet, public will access your public IP, and as a network engineer, you will do a port forwarding in your firewall. If some traffic is coming to my public IP, it should be redirected to my server. This is called port forwarding or virtual IP address, where this is nothing but a destination NAT we call it. Okay. This also we are going to understand. And at the same time, if you are having multiple servers, this is server one, suppose I am having another server. Here also same website is there. Suppose if this server goes down, traffic should be redirected to this server. We call it like a server load balancing concepts, where we are having multiple servers and the firewall will help us to do have a redundancy of our website servers. Okay. After that, we are going to do security policies and protection mechanisms. So we are having like a firewall security policies, user based security policies we will go through. Then we are going to understand what is SSL inspection. See, nowadays all the traffic on the internet is secured with HTTPS certificate, like certificate they are secured with the SSL certificate, right? So if you as a security engineer, if I want to understand what traffic is going from my firewall, I need to read the traffic, right? So it is secured. I cannot read until I do SSL inspection. How does it help us? How there are different ways to have SSL inspection, like full inspection or a certificate based inspection, that also we will go through. Okay. After that, we will understand like what are the web filtering concept, what is DNS filtering, what is application control, IDS, IPS. These are all security features we are going to do in our environment. Okay. After that, we will understand what are the VPN concepts. As I told you, there are different type of VPNs like SSL VPN, then remote access VPN, site to site VPN, Then authentication. Whenever we have a VPN, we may need to have authentication with our AD servers to have this particular thing running. If you don't want to use the local users, we need to do a LDAP integration, right? That also we will understand. After that, very important concept in your enterprise is troubleshooting of VPNs. See, configuration VPNs can be of like 4 steps, 10 steps. But if something is not working under a VPN, how will you troubleshoot this VPN? Also, we will understand with the CLI commands, and even with the packet capturing, what will happen during a troubleshooting steps. Okay. After that, we will go with the, like high availability concepts in a FortiGate firewall, like FortiGate HA concepts, session synchronization, SD-WAN basic understandings, and VDOMs. What is the use of VDOMs in a FortiGate? Also, we will understand, like if you have one firewall, how you can divide that one firewall into multiple customers using a VDOM, virtual domains. After that, we will go with like FortiManager configurations, like centralized policies and device management, like policies, creating a policies in FortiManager, then assigning a policies to FortiManager. Then object configurations. Objects are nothing but say whenever you want to create any policy, you need to have an address object. You need to have a FQD on objects. There are multiple types of objects you need to create before assigning that. Then what is the use of normalized interface in FortiGate? We will understand that. After that, we will go with the automation and templates configuration in FortiManager, provisioning templates and use cases. If you have multiple firewalls, how can you use a templates to have a deployment in a multiple firewalls? After all the theory concepts, see, usually what will happen, suppose I am taking module 1 would be having an introduction. Okay. After introduction, if there are any labs for a module 1, we will cover that particular labs after a module 1 theory part. Okay. So usually that would be my class concepts, like after every theory, we would be having certain labs. Suppose if you take module 4, which would be of routing and switching, or routing and interface configurations, that we will cover under these parts, like static routing, RIP, redistribution, OSPF, BGP. This will all be having our lab environments. Okay. So with every module, we would be having specific labs. So these are our labs we are going to cover. Like during our routing, again, as I told you, if I have multiple ISPs, how I will do equal cost multipath policy based routing, that also I need to cover, right? So with every lab, every theory, I would be having a specific labs for that particular scenarios. Okay, these are the labs you will get this particular document you will get from our admin. So you can from our institute, so you can get complete you can go through what are the concepts we are going to cover. Okay. So you see, we would be having dynamic NAT, static NAT, PAT, virtual servers, everything which would be used in an enterprise environment from a NAT concept point of view. Okay. Then we would be having SSL inspections, security profiles. These things would be coming like web filtering, how will happen, DNS filtering, application control, IPS, IDS, and advanced malware protection, IP reputations, which is we usually do in a FortiGate firewall. After that, we will cover a VPN concepts, like these are the VPNs we will be having. See, there are different type of VPNs. Usually we do route based VPN or policy based VPN in site to site VPNs. Then what is a split tunnel? What is a full tunnel? This is very basic concept you need to understand if you are going with the enterprise level firewall manager or firewall engineer. Okay. After that, we will go with the high availability, passive, active, passive, deploying a FortiGate firewalls in a transparent mode. As I told you in a theory part, we are going to understand like NAT mode or a transparent mode, right? What is the use of NAT mode firewall and what is the use of transparent mode firewall? Also, we will go with the theory part. Then after that, we would be having a deployment mode of a transparent mode also in our lab environment. Okay. Then deploying a FortiManager. As I told, see, we are having till now everything locally. So now I don't want anything on a local. I want to do it via FortiManager. So how can you do that also? We will understand. These are all the labs for a FortiManager, like policy configurations, templates configuration, policy configuration with the FortiManager for multiple firewalls. Okay. So this would be our lab concepts. Everything we would be having like 40, nearly 40 labs for each and every theory part. Okay. So this is generally our course content which we are going to cover in our environment. After the course content, let us see like what type of labs we are going to do. So usually when it comes to lab, we would be using a PNet lab, which is very similar to EVENG. Okay. So in our PNet labs, we would be having like this is one topology, lab one topology. It is very basic topology where I am having two ISPs, ISP1, ISP2. Then I am having my firewall deployed as my WAN device. So and I am having this particular area is my LAN. Okay. Suppose a VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 wants to have a internet, secure internet. My firewall will do a routing to both the ISPs. Okay, this ISP, this ISP also I will do a routing like a load balancing of my internet traffic, and even at the same time I will do policies, security policies. If I want this VPC and this my VLANs should have like blocking of YouTube blocker or whatever websites as per my company security I need to do, I will do it on a FortiGate firewall. Okay. So these things we will do in our lab environment. There would be multiple labs we are going to cover in our environment. Let me show you other topologies also. Give me a couple of minutes. So this would be our second lab environment where I am having a multiple branches. So this would be completely used when we are going to have a routing protocols in our lab environment. Okay, just a minute. So what will happen on my firewall? I would be having another link. We call it a MPLS link. Suppose if my user wants to go to another branch and on the branch I don't have a firewall, I am having only router. So this particular branch will use my firewall as an internet breakout. Okay, this is very common scenario where you will be having in your enterprise architecture or enterprise designs, where your DC is acting as an internet breakout and your branch is sending all the traffic to your. Suppose user wants to go to internet, his traffic will go to router, from router to MPLS, and from MPLS it will come to firewall, and firewall will do a internet breakout. So this will all happen via routing concepts. So we will understand how you can do routing between firewall and your branch environment or branch routers. And we can use many protocols over here that like BGP or OSPF, or even we can use a static routes. We will go through all these static routes and everything in our environment. Okay. Then there would be another lab topology. Let me show you. So this would be another lab topology for my VPN environment where I am having more than one branch, and all at all the branches I would be having a firewall. Now suppose this is my DC and here are my servers. Now from a branch I wanted to access these servers, I will be using a VPN concepts. I would be having a connectivity from my branch to my data centers, or from my first branch to my data center, and traffic will use the internet, but it will be used on top of internet. We would be creating a virtual private network which would be secured communication between our locations, or between our DC and DR, or branch and our data center. Okay, so this would be common things we would be doing in our firewall training concepts. Or even there would be another lab which we are going to cover for our FortiManager environment. In a DC, I would be having a FortiManager deployed. This would be my FortiManager, where all this firewall I will integrate with my FortiManager, and I will do a centralized management, configuration, troubleshooting, everything from my data center. I don't need to log into any branch separately. Okay. So that was very common things which we are going to do in our lab environment. So that is a course content, and you gone through a lab overview also. So after you complete this particular training like FortiGate Firewall and FortiManager thing, you would be able to do a real-time management of a FortiGate firewalls, or you will be able to work as a security engineer in any of the company where you need to manage the firewalls in your day-to-day environment. Not only management, suppose you get a new firewall in your company, that also you will be able to deploy very easily after doing all our labs in our training. Okay. So that was all for our training our course content and training which we are going to cover. So thank you all. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to us. We will be able to help you.